Hello everyone, it's Hopes here bringing you another video on demand. Today we're going to show you a plus 19 Motherload. The affixes I believe is going to be Fortified, Volcanic, and Bursting. So this was last week during the really big push week that we had. In my group, of course, myself is going to be running the Brewmaster Monk as the tank. My healer heals, which is the Restoration Druid, Demon Hunter Rogue, and a Frost Mage. A lot of people with these comps talk about running one, maybe two range depending on the dungeon. And if it's a mage, typically everyone says, yes, bring that fire mage, right? Because those fire mages have the combust, that really big burn phase when they can combust and just do massive damage. That's all great, and fire mages do an insane amount of damage in that burst window. So if you are running with a fire mage and you're a tank, you have to make sure you are pulling around the combust, making sure every 2 minutes you do a really big pull to utilize the combust phase of the fire mage for their damage profile. In this case, I'm running with a frost mage. So with the frost mage, I actually don't have to pull around that 2 minute damage profile of combust. I can actually just do my standard pulls and chain pull where I need and don't have to worry about getting a really big pull in all of a sudden because of combust, not needing to worry about combust. Frost mages still have icy veins, not something that you necessarily have to pull around because of the way the frost mage's damage profile is. You can just do your standard pulls and you'll actually be okay with this. So let's go ahead and get started, and we will coach the coach here on this 19 Motherload. So first pack here, we pull the first two, and then once I get aggro and all of that, we pop hero. So hero here to burn these down quickly. You can see the damage profile of all of the DPS to the bottom right hand side, as well as my real-time group DPS. You can see there all three DPS above 150k. That's what we want to see there. As those started to die, I chain pulled that third pack there with this Peacekeeper. These Peacekeepers here give an amazing amount of percentage, so you always want to pull the Peacekeepers as much as possible because of the percent that they give you and relative to the HP that they have. Now, since they do have much more HP than any other group in the dungeon, outside the bosses, you do want to make sure you chain pull them into the next group. I say that, but then I'll also remind people that you may not want to do that during bolstering weeks until their HPs on the Peacekeeper gets down pretty low to what the next mob you're getting ready to pull. If not, you're going to really bolster that Peacekeeper, and that eventually can one-shot you as the tank. So you want to make sure you're aware of that and you're not bolstering the Peacekeeper too much. So you can see there on the damage done for the entire dungeon to the bottom right, our Frost Mage have a Burrito 119k, KDH, our Demon Hunter 107, and our Rogue at 106. So just do that first set right there, just an amazing profile damage for both of them. So we did that really well. It worked really clean. The one thing here you want to look at is the refreshment vendor, which right now is marked with the moon. The ice spritzer is the number one thing you want to always interrupt. The thing with the ice spritzer though is it's a channeled ability. So first you're going to see in the cast bar, you're going to see it actually casting. And then after it casts, you're going to see it start to channel. So you really, in reality, have about 4 to 5 seconds to really get that interrupted. If you don't, it freezes the target. It does do a long freeze, the freeze is actually a stun. You don't want to have that happen, especially if it's targeting your healer. So that's the number one priority on these trash packs, to get interrupted, so you don't lose DPS, and then if it targets the healer, you don't lose your healer. So with this first Awaken Affix, I do see some people not do what we're doing right here, and that is the wrong thing to do, is to just keep it right there or to put it into the corner back there. You're going to want to take this to the boss room 100% of the time. There's not an affix. There's not a set of affixes that you would do this any other way. So if you are watching this and you're not doing this right here, 100% of the time, if you want to save time and you want to make your run smoother and cleaner, this is the first thing you need to do, is to pull the awakened mob here first. So once we do this, actually, we can't go straight to the boss because the boss still has to do some RP. So you always pull this pack next. Again, the ice spritzer there got interrupted. You pull this pack here because it does take some time for the RP on the boss to get started. So once we do that, then by the time this mob dies, the RP will be done. So then we can get into the boss fight. As a tank too, if you're running with a frost mage or a fire mage, the one thing you have to do as a tank is to help keep the mobs in the AoE. So frost mage, you see the frozen orb there on the blizzard. It is my job as the tank to do everything I can to keep the mob within that DPS of the damage of the blizzard and the frozen orb. If you're running with the fire mage, they run meteor, which scorches the ground and does ticking damage as long as the enemies are standing inside it. Very similar to blizzard. You are the tank. You're the one who decides where the mobs go. It is so important that from your damage up time and that you keep the boss or the mobs in there. So you see here with the bombs, we hit the 2 in. Or the 1 in, and then we waited on 2 and 3. You don't want to put them all 3 at the same time. We actually did that probably a little bit more sloppy than what we should have. Hopefully we'll clean it up. So what the goal is you pull the first 2 bombs in. So it gets that double debuff where it takes damage, and then you wait on the 3rd because each time the bomb hits it, it resets the damage debuff for you guys to do more damage on it. So we hit the first 2. So you can see here on my weak aura, it's like ticking down. We missed there, which is fine. And then we hit it there, and watch what happens. Boom, it resets. So now it's that 3 stacks. So we just made the damage taken on the boss last that much longer. If you are not doing that on this boss, this is something I would recommend doing right away, because it will greatly increase the amount of damage that you do to the boss. You should always be running one ranged. If you're not running one ranged, you should always select your lowest DPS to be the one going out and getting the bomb along with your healer. So your healer should be getting 1. Your ranged DPS or your lowest melee DPS should be getting the 2nd. And then your healer should get the 3rd once the damage profile of the debuff starts to lose out. So that one we didn't do it there. Didn't really need to though. On Tyrannical weeks, if you're doing this boss on Tyrannical, you would wait to hero until you get the 3 bombs into the boss to help maximize the debuff that's on the boss. So I also see this from a lot of groups is they don't back pull this. They go and pull the science swing or this next swing and pull a lot of that stuff, which is also a waste of time compared to the way those mobs do damage. The risk factor involved as far as what they can do, their abilities, and how you could eventually die from some of those mechanics. This wing, in my opinion, and if you look at a lot of the higher end tanks and most of their opinions, this is the wing that is the easiest to pull. Most notably, the reason why is because in Season 1 and Season 2, we had to pull this a lot, so most people were already familiar with how this works a lot without doing any type of skips. So this is what you want to do, is you want to come in and you want to back pull all of this to, I want to say, like 67% is going to be the magic number. See, there was the ice spritzer. You saw that kind of channeled ability. Didn't do the first interrupt right away. It's quite okay because we are still able to get it. So chain pulling the next group in. There's the channel for the ice spreader. Took a minute for us to get it interrupted, but nonetheless we did. I think here in the conversation, because I don't, Burrito's a good friend of mine. We ran together way back when I first started playing the game, but really haven't ran like these really high keys. You see me dodging some stuff there, and then doing my best to, again, his Frozen Orb and his Blizzard, doing everything I can to keep the mobs in his Frozen Orb and Blizzard, because again, that's where his damage, a lot of his damage comes from. And if I'm moving things left and right and I'm not keeping it in the Blizzard and the Frozen Orb, I'm not doing only him a disservice, but I'm doing a group the disservice because we're losing uptime on the mobs. I guess there's one thing to talk about here with this as we're going through this here. I'll bring up here in a minute once we get this next pack pulled. I think I'm pausing for a moment for Heels to eat his fish feast. I guess I can talk about that. So healers, as you're pushing these high keys, yeah, it's great to have a mage table. It's even better if you get the sugar crusted feast, which you get from the dragon maw fish from the Dark Moon Fair. If you can get those are amazing. Those get you instantly healed up, or not healed up, but manned up very quickly. If you combine that with your mana biscuits, you go from like having nothing to everything in a few seconds. And you know, in an M+ on high keys, every second really counts. But what I was getting back to is the corruption I was running. So you can see on the bottom right here, I'm running 29 total corruption during this key, which is Gushing Wounds, which unfortunately is going to be getting nerfed here this coming Tuesday. If you're watching it afterwards, then you should already know that, yeah, Gushing Wounds took a huge nerf. Twilight Dev rank 2, Siphoner rank 2, which is the Leech, and then Versatile rank 3. As a monk, it is so important that your verse is about as high as it can be. The new corruption vendor is live as I'm recording this. The new corruption vendor, you get the Echoes of Nyalotha. You use that currency to be able to buy different pieces of corruption, and then you can take those pieces, or those corruption tokens, and then put them in on certain pieces. So as a monk, the number one corruption you want to have is versatility, or versatile, and then one surging vitality. I ended up getting that last night, and my base verse now with food is sitting at 34% versatility. With the surging vitality, I've actually been able to spike up to about 72% verse, or I think I wanted to say it was like a 63% damage reduction. That's huge as you get into the high keys. The less damage you take as a tank means the more damage that your healer can do. Versatility also increases the damage you do as well. So yeah, you might be losing out on a Gushing Wound or a Twilight Devastation. Honestly, it's worth it. 100% it's worth it to do that because of what it's going to do for your tanks overall. Or your healers overall. So you notice here, I'm going to pause this here in a second after we get this mob done. If you're running with a monk, 100% of the time you should be doing this next strat that I'm about ready to show you here once this mob dies. And I'll pause the video here for just a second to kind of explain what the goal for this is. I've tried this 3 times. I've got it to work once. Unfortunately, the time I got it to work, it wasn't on stream, so you're not going to really see it work right here, but it does work if done correctly. So it's this group right here. So this group here has 2 mech jockeys plus the thug. So the whole goal of this too is what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ring of peace down here. So for those of you who don't know or need it as a reminder as a monk, you can use Ring of Peace to knock mobs away left or right, do one thing or the other. And Ring of Peace does not put you in combat at all. what my goal is the ring of peace is to put down in the middle to separate the two mech jockeys. So one of the mech jockeys goes to the left for this peacekeeper, and then the other mech jockey goes here to the right for the other peacekeeper. So that's the goal of what I'm trying to do here is knock them out. Try to get it close. Get the aggro here. And see, oh, it actually activated all the way, but he didn't jump into it. So that was really weird on why it didn't do it. So the goal is like I said, to do that, to get them both to activate. Again, because Peacekeepers give such a high percentage for the dungeon and count. So you want to make sure you get those as much as possible. Unfortunately, it didn't work there, but we'll just keep going. Get this down here and then keep pulling. We're at 46.4%, 47, 48. So let's see how much this Peacekeeper gives us as far as count. We're at 187. So it gives us a 12 count, or from 47 to 52%. So that's why the Peacekeepers are so important to get. And at any, like I said, at any point you want the Peacekeeper. So there's that. Knock out this group here. And I think after this we have to end up pulling one more pack, and then we go back for the next, going towards the second boss, Azarok. So a lot of people here also, when you look at this, they're like, oh, you know, this is taking so much time. It's going to feel like that for the first maybe 1 or 2 times you run this. I promise you it's a time saver, because once you get done doing this, you literally pulled almost all of the trash you need between now and the rest of the dungeon. The rest of the trash you pull is the stuff that you have to pull to get to the next obelisk. So that is why the percentage on where we're pulling is where it's at. So yeah, see, 58%. So still need more. So if you're running into keys that people aren't used to this, it is something that you have to explain to them as well, that you know that you're going to be doing. And then chain pulling into the next pack gets me to the percentage we need. There's my trinket right there because of the damage coming out. Again, this was pre me running 34% verse as a baseline with the corruption, but now I'm at 34% verse. It's pretty easy peasy now. Since I just have the Peacekeeper left, I can just taunt, hit, make sure I keep the aggro, and we just kite it back here. We need this group here. So I'm starting to work on that. I actually trinketed and used my CD on that one because of that damage spike that I took there. I think this becomes the damage. So the thing is though, is you can't have like a set, yes, this is what we're going to pull. It has to be a feel for this as far as your percentage is concerned, because if the mech jockeys don't get into the Peacekeepers like you're wanting them to, then they're not going to give you the percentage you need. So there's that. 67% I think is the 67, 68%. 68%, that's exactly where we need to be. I say anywhere between 67 and 70%. 67% would be the least, and then anything over that you're going to be good. This first pack here, I don't know why I do it. I always feel more comfortable pulling this pack back. You can definitely fight it where it's at there. It's really up to you. It's just my preference on that. And as a tank, you're gonna have certain preferences and like weird little quirks about how you like to pull stuff. It's not right or wrong. It's just how you feel comfortable with, because as a tank, part of your job is to ensure that you're not putting your DPS in a bad spot to pull extra. There's a health pot. There's a trinket there because our healer died, and you know me, I keep chain pulling there as you've been seeing. There's my stun on the leg sweep. My healer's back. I'm at full stagger, which is hurting right now. There's a knockback to help with some damage, and then my healer gets me up. We recover. And then we're good. And again, you see here, so there's mobs to the other side of us. You want to make sure you're hugging this wall as much as possible to ensure that you're not going to pull that pack to the side. Because again, because we pulled so much in the beginning, we don't need the packs to the right. They do cast a lot with the Earth Shield and the Rock Lance. The Rock Lance is definitely something you want to interrupt, because the Rock Lance does a decrease in healing. This is exploding here. You stand in it, you insta-die. So you just stay out of that. Let that all go. And we're good. So since we get into this obelisk, one of the next packs we pull is this group right here. The Extractor is a mob that we didn't used to pull until Awaken came out. It does this power through right here. You do not want to be standing in front of it. It does a lot of damage even to you as a tank. I mean, now with all my versatility, I've tested it on a non-fortified week and it didn't do as much damage as it used to do. But nonetheless, it's not something that I would try to do. It would be something that you would always want to make sure that as a tank, you're facing it to this wall area right here. And then all the DPS is going to be in this arc behind it right here. So as you can see from this enemy forces right here, we're going to be at over 80%. The Extractor, once it dies, you get this driller guy here. So you can inch up to here and not pull the aggro for this mob right there. Or like I said earlier, Ring of Peace knocks mobs back, but doesn't initiate aggro. So either one you can do. With this one here, with the spider, we just need to kite it for the ads because they end up exploding. Since I want to drop the portal here anyway, it does not matter. I don't know if I do. So there's a new strat I learned. I don't know if I did it on this video or not. We'll have to see. If not, I'll explain it. Alright, perfect. Yes, it looks like we're going to do this. Alright, let me get this awakened mob down. I'm going to pause the video and then we will kind of explain how we did this pull as well. Because I think this could be extremely valuable as a time saver. Especially on tyrannical weeks. We did a 19 Motherload last night. Didn't time it because we died on the last boss a couple times. Just due to some silly mistakes. But we ended up figuring it out. But this is definitely the play for this boss right now. Oh, we don't have Null here. That's why I was wondering. Why this one took so long to kill. Okay, so I'm going to pause this right here. You drop the Awakened Mob right on top of Azarok, and then you pre-pot and then go out. And the reason you pre-pot and go out is because as soon as you go out, you're going to activate the boss, and the boss is going to start attacking. So once that happens, as a tank, you gather all 4 of the adds that are around here and bring them into the center. If you have a druid, you vortex them so they all stay there. If you don't have the druid, any other type of CC, so if you have a demon hunter tank, sigil, if monk, death knight, you grip them in. As a monk, once you gather them in, you can leg sweep. If you have a demon hunter, you can chaos nova. Whatever it is to get them all into the center and stun them, you do that, and then you hero. And the reason you do that is because it just bursts the boss down at an incredibly high rate. So there's my pre-pot. They're entering there. Boss activates. Don't get hit by the frontal. Grab them there. Heroes up. There's the vortex. Ring a piece them all together. There's the stun. There's the frozen nova as another stun. There's the frontal, watch out for that. And then now once that frontal is done, you can see they're almost dead. We have 7 seconds left on hero, so we're all on the boss now. Our demon hunter died, we're picking him back up. Hero's done, 67%. That is an amazing pull right there. Demon Hunter stayed alive would have been helpful. But as far as the boss percentage there, if you can hero there, get all the adds down, and get anywhere between 60 and 69, 70% of boss left, that's a huge win for the group. And that makes this boss so much easier to deal with, because now you have these, you just DPS them. As a tank, this Tectonic Smash is that frontal cone. As long as it's not doing that or getting ready to do that, you should be DPSing. I hope DPSing on the adds. So I should have done a better job, especially being a monk with the Mystic Touch for increased damage. I didn't do that, so that's shame on me. Second pots are live, so second potting there. There's the Frozen Orb Blizzard like we've been talking about before. Always doing your best to keep the boss or whatever you're DPSing into that damage as much as possible. Boss is at 1-2%, so we just focus boss. Boss is down. So here, a lot of people just take the cart down. It is actually faster to mount up and to do it there, like what I did. How much faster? We're talking seconds. It's not a huge time saver, but again, in high keystones, every second you can save is going to make you that much faster or that much better, or allow you to make one more mistake that you normally would not have been able to recover from. And that's what we're doing right now with my M+ group, as we've only been playing together for about 1 week, so we're still learning each other. It's how are we going to save time, increase our damage uptime on mobs, bosses, and just these little nuances. Like, everyone has the same gear, right? You look at Andy Brew, the #1 monk tank. You look at Nerf Tank, the #1 warrior tank. Troll Brew, which is someone I watch religiously when he streams. He is an amazing tank as well. All of our item levels are very similar to each other. It is knowing when to use your brews, knowing when to interrupt, knowing these little nuances of each dungeon, unless it's total gore, because then there's nothing you can do about that one. That's for another video though. But any of these little nuances with the dungeon that saves you time is what you want to do. So we get these down. See, we're 85.4%. We're skipping the science wing in its entirety because the damage output that the mobs bring to the tank and to the rest of the group is just it hurts a lot. So you don't want to be there if you don't have to be. And we kill the blob here and go to the boss. Once we get the boss started, in the middle of the fight, I'm going to pause the video here to explain the propellant blast. When I'm watching other people stream or helping my friends with bosses, this is a mistake that I see a lot of groups make, is the propellant blast. And that can be really painful if not done correctly, and can make this fight very clean and very easy, or very sloppy. Rixa, this is probably one of my favorite boss fights as far as commentary is concerned. I love her her talk about asking for Azurite, have a face full. One of my mods who helped me with all of my streaming stuff actually does a really great impersonation of this. Okay, so there's a propellant blast. You can see how we aimed it towards a section. We missed it there. So I'm gonna, on the next propellant blast, I'm gonna pause it and we're gonna explain exactly why we did what we did. So DBM Bigwigs shows you all of this stuff up here as far as the timing of things, so you know when it's gonna be coming. Chemical burn coming out. If it's on a tank and someone else, if you're the healer, always leave it on the tank. Okay, so propellant blast is incoming in 3. So always have your tank marked with square. Some people like to use other icons. The most people use icon that most people use is square. At this point in time, at about 5 seconds left, as the tank, you're gonna want to call for the stack. So everyone stacks on you. And the reason everyone stacks on you is because you're going to have your back towards where you want the propellant blast to go to clean up these Azurite burns here that does the ticking damage if you stand in it. That way it clears up the field. So right now you see people are stacking actually opposite of me. I like people stacking on me, but you can do one or the other. You can see there, as soon as that bubble that says that KD says Azurite or propellant blast on me, as soon as that happens, you can move. You don't have to sit there and wait for the animation to go out. You can move right away. So then we do that. Everyone restacks or is on the opposite side. So we stacked, we move right away. And look how much stuff, oops, I did a double barrel roll and that was bad. But look how much we just cleared the room. And then move over here, focus the boss. So that's why stacking or stacking opposite of propellant blast is so important. Some groups, tank sits one way and everyone sits the opposite, which is fine. I prefer just everyone stacked together. But at that point in time, it just depends on what the group needs. 86.5% coming into this section right here, the last section. We are going to do a little bit here, and then we're going to be at the boss at 100% or close to. I think I might have missed one mob here. I can't remember. I just noticed that Burrito's not running the Glacial Spike build. He's running the Ice Lance build. So yeah, I need to be at like 98.5. We're at 97.4, so we kill that. 97.7. So we end up missing it. So we got. I think we have to, after we kill the boss, we have to kill one more mob. As I said, my last, I think I explained this in my junkyard video that I posted, is that as the tank, this is not a boss you run away from activating, because these flesh fiends, even though you have aggro, will bite the nearest target. So you have to get all of these down first before you can take the portal to where you want it to go. So you see here, I'm at full stagger, so I'm not leaving yet until my stagger bar goes down, so I'm not taking that ticking damage. 100% with a half stagger is okay with me. So get this to the boss. So before we start this boss here, I'm going to pause and go over a couple things with this fight. Something that we learned yesterday too. So in this boss fight, there is one safe spot 100% of the time that for the flames, the red swirlies on the ground, that you don't get hit. And that's right here where my mouse cursor is, on this corner of this graded area here. Stand on this corner, 100% a safe zone every single time. We are doing this on Tyrannical, and we had everyone stand there, the healer and our hunter included. And the problem with that was, though, is the missile that comes out that does a dot with ticking damage was just a lot of damage ticking on the group that ended up wiping us a couple times. So what I recommend going forward is you have your melee and your tank standing here on this corner, but then you have your healer and your range standing back here where the portal is. That way, when the targeted missile comes out, then you're not all standing in the same spot, getting that ticking damage. And then here we go. For this, always hero second phase, never hero first phase. So you see that missile, the homing missile, there's the damage there. See, safe spot there. Gatling gun, we dodge. If you're not going to dodge the Gatling gun, literally run into it. Because if you run into it, you only take 1, maybe 2 ticks, which is extremely livable. There's this, we're at 48%, so we're going to phase the intermission. You can see standing there, not getting hit by any of the fire. If you are a night elf, you can shadow meld that shot off. I don't. If you're a tank, don't do that though. Don't do that if you're a tank, because if you do, you're going to lose aggro on all of it, and that's going to be extremely painful. We have some battle resist, so we're gonna get K up here. Get these ads down quickly. There's our hero. Second pots, and we just burn the boss from here. See, again, safe spot there. Man, this might be Null's worst boss. Boom, boom, boom. Boss can die. And then we need one, maybe two more items. So we go here. Just quickly pull this. At this point, you just focus on a target. Mark Skull for the DPS. I was slow to the upkeep on that. I Fort Brewed there since our healer died. Did a trinket there as well to make sure we live because we're killing one more thing. And 19 end time. So there is our Motherload 19 end time. You saw us make a couple mistakes. I kind of walked through that. I also talked about the pathing that we took and why we did that. If you have any questions on that, feel free to leave a comment. If you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate the like as well. In the description, I'll have my Twitter, so you can always @ me on Twitter or follow me on Twitch as well. I hope everyone enjoyed.